Well, hello everybody. I am sorry. We're going to have this video tonight. I'm not putting up the original Geneva Convention on Children's Rights 1924 from the League of Nations, as well as then the 1959 version UN General Assembly resolution, and then finally added on to my plate today by none other than the Republicans of George H. Bush. We're going to go through all of it. I'm ending this today. I understand USA's plight here, and I'm going to go through it for all of you as best I can, but this is going to end today for Russia and USA, and I've got a pile, guys. A pile. I understand USA's plight. We're going to overlap that into 1989, into Russia, the fall of the USSR, where USA once again stands strong. But even with all that, they do a mighty blow to the former Soviet Union after 1989 that isn't anything lawful, and it's in regards to Ukraine. But I'm ending it all here because it's taking me out of the narrative and these modules I have to finish. I don't want to upset the United States of America, the government, and I don't want to get into too much with Russia. But we're going to do this video because I've been hammered with it from the American administration, past and present. We're going to get it all done right here, right now. Full disclosure, I'm going to go through those 3 dates as well as into USA and Russia. I'm going to address both of them. It's for all of you. It's for all Canadians. First Peoples, it's an important read. I went through 1924 yesterday, the League of Nations original Geneva Convention. The language, I was going to publish that for you guys, the 1959 version. Now I got hammered with a massive version of 1989, which again the entire world signed, but USA did not sign. And why? Because you can go back as they go through. This is from George H. Bush's administration, Republicans, going why they didn't do it, why not. And then on top of that, everybody, every single resolution but declaration, meaning not a vote, a declaration of the General Assembly, and then world UN states to ratify. USA said no. The last 189 is massive, detailed, but all of the same language that says lawful or legal in relation to the state laws. When you look at Canada, Indian Act, it's lawful in Canada, not lawful in international law and human rights. So do we make that legal by signing that for the rights of children? No, we don't. It's massive. The document is huge. It's very much larger than the Declaration of Human Rights on the rights of children, with a pile of sneaky language. USA, I understand, but I'm not giving up the rest of my week to continue adding on to the plate here. This is for all Republicans. All I can tell all Canadians and First Peoples, USA was strong in 1924, saying no, which is the date they ended the American Indian Wars, ended it, moved forward. Vice President Richard Nixon, going back to 1959, split vote in Senate. Vice President gets to decide every time. One of 8 of his split votes, meaning he was leader of the Senate. For those, President of the Senate, that's what Vice President is when you read the Constitution of the United States of America. Richard Nixon, last 2 years of Lyndon B. Johnson, who was gravely ill. Not only was Richard Nixon being President of the United States in the capacity as Vice President, he was President of the Senate. He said no in 59. He wouldn't allow it to go through. He wouldn't minimize the American Indian or all of the segregated American African Americans. He wouldn't do it. He wouldn't do it. He voted no. He did the split vote in Senate, threw it in the garbage. He was also acting, for the most part, as President of the United States. We know after that what happened, a 10-year period because of JFK, until Richard Nixon himself ran for President of the United States, completing all the work, desegregating schools, living up to the terms and conditions after he had China bind the Declaration of Human Rights. After Russia went for decolonization, USA did not vote no. Richard Nixon said, we will abstain, because you technically haven't, Russia, signed, which was former Soviet Union, you haven't signed the Declaration of Human Rights. We'll see if you can get it bound through the world. So USA abstained, and sure enough, the world voted for it. It passed into international law. Richard Nixon immediately completed decolonization of the United States. Self-government, self-determination for the American Indian, settled major claims, major lands, 500 times more. He desegregated schools physically, even though law was passed by JFK. None of the southern schools were desegregated. Richard Nixon got in a helicopter, flew out there, and he did that. He did that physically, ended it all, changed the South forever. He decolonized what remained in the United States of America. You can look at Pennsylvania in 1974. Even though Watergate had Richard Nixon removed, we see Ford coming in to honor the works of Richard Nixon and finish it off physically. Done. When we advance to 1989, the UN comes back with a much larger document trying to save all of the colonial empires with still colonial attachments, i.e. you can look at UK. They try once more in a very lengthy, large document. George H. Bush, to his credit, rejects it on the works of Richard Nixon, saying the United States of America has settled all the American Indian claims, completed all the works, freed those people. They have self-determination, self-government. They have rights to even their resources. You watch, there is no more segregation. American people are all on equal footing. There is nothing left remaining from that point on with the African Americans. There's none. Nothing but equality of all peoples in America. Reality done by the American government. Some works to do still in other narratives, but nothing in the realm of human rights violation. They don't allow the children's rights to go through. USA has rejected it every time because USA has a better model system. That is a downgrade from the Constitution of the United States of America. That's a fact. Parents have absolute charge over children in the United States of America. Parental rights trump anything put through the UN, except for the Declaration of Human Rights 1948 or the UN Charter of 1945. USA accepts those two as key and paramount, meaning the parental powers. Parents have the rights, not governments or legal lawful systems government puts in to usurp children's rights, which is part of UNICEF. Wrong, wrong, wrong. This is as far as I go today for Republicans. I'm not going to publish anymore. I have modules to complete this week. United States of America, you win in everything you've done. Bless the Republicans and the Biden administration for giving me absolutely every illegal UN resolution, meaning declaration by an assembly without actual vote or being vetoed, meaning it's not law. I have them all entirely, which absolutely everybody. Today I can clearly state I can myth bust PPC, Maxime Bernier, or any other party telling you to leave the UN. I can show you how Canada is the problem in the UN. I can show you that. USA and Russia provide it. The last bit I'm going to do Today, everybody, Russia showed how USA and several other UN states were spying in their country. I see the aerial photos from space. We see Western planes. They did a hypersonic missile test just 3 days ago. Saw the whole video from Russia. They can shoot a missile at Mach 22 with gravity assist, which means they can nuke a lot of countries in the world and not be stopped. Now, Russia's not doing that. They don't. They show they're getting spied on. They show everybody breaching of their sovereignty and people doing spying in that upper atmosphere, and Russia's even higher than them. Not that USA wouldn't be over their land too. They can both do it. I think China can too. But nobody besides Russia and USA have that much tech up there. Credible, viable, verifiable. It's real. But I'm going to finish this. That's great what George H. Bush did. President George H. Bush did in 1989. Kudos to him. However, it doesn't change the fact that George H. Bush, President George H. Bush, breached international law while fellow P5 member Russia went down in bankruptcy of the USSR and everything else, and allowed Ukraine to do a declaration of independence, not a referendum of independence, meaning a political party in power without 50% of the population declared Ukraine independent. USA backed him up under George H. Bush. This is absolute truth. I'm not fighting with USA or Russia here. This is the end of it for me, and I'm going back to my modules tomorrow, everybody. This is for Russia and the United States, Republicans, Democrats alike. What the USA did under George H. Bush was illegal in international law, international binding law of the P5 and of USA. You will not allow declarations unilateral of independence without a referendum. I know I'm the expert maybe in the world, as we all watch Spain and Caledonia go through all that. People went to prison over a declaration of independence, but yet with all of that everywhere in the world, and how many times USA said no, that's illegal, George H. Bush breached that law as a president executively and said Ukraine can have a declaration of independence, which is illegal in this world today. They violated the Federation of Russia during that P5 members' crucial time. I'm not saying what's right or wrong here, but I am going to say Ukraine's declaration of independence was an illegal breach of international law, international binding law by the United States of America against Russia. This is it. This is my last video. I'm not putting any of these embedments. You're all welcome to look at these key dates. Geneva Children's Rights. 1959, UN Resolution on the Rights of a Child. 1989, Declaration of the Rights of Children. Go check it out, everybody. Historic. USA on all three accounts voted no. Voted no. And why? Because the American Indian has self-determination, self-government, and had claims settled. The rights of their children are theirs, not the American government. In fact, all Americans, the rights of the parents with their children is number one. Does not ever get trumped by any government in the United States of America. It goes against the Constitution. It also goes against international treaty binding law and the UN of 1945, the UN Charter, and of the Declaration of Human Rights 1948. USA will never, ever sign those. I don't know about Democrats at this point. I don't see Joe Biden running up to sign it. I don't think he's going to either. I haven't asked any of the members of that administration, but I doubt they will anyway. They haven't since '89. We've seen Clinton go through. We've seen all kinds of Democrats go through. Barack Obama, nobody's bringing that back to the table. USA says no. Because also, when we go back to the 20s, when we highlight 1924, the end of the American Indian Wars, which is said no. Richard Nixon went on. He said, we're going to settle it. He was vice president, acting president, in fact. Lyndon B. Johnson was sick. They voted no again, and they settled First Nations. He did that as president, as promised to the United States, ended all segregation of any African Americans. He did that physically. Regardless of what the law said, it was still happening. Richard Nixon went out there and got it done. This is truth. Truth. George H. Bush, again, everybody, he refused it in 89. A much lengthier legal mumbo-jumbo document, really large, which gives government powers over your children. A sneaky way of trying to, again, sneak it in there with great terms and words that the average person would say, this sounds great, except for they're usurping your right as parents over your children, breaching your family, justifying things like residential schools in Canada. The whole world signed this, by the way, everybody, except for United States of America. 3 times vetoed no. And then they give today, I got them all, a whole pile which myth busts everything Maxime Bernier and the PPC sell on a daily basis about the UN. No, it's Rogue Canada, the UN. And the post-national state that Justin Trudeau wants, he brags about, when we get the records today of over 401,000 new citizens to Canada this year, replacing the old stock, making record numbers, surpassing the First Nations, minimizing them. It's called colonization, folks. There shouldn't be immigration numbers to Canada at that load limit breached. Why are people not able to have children? Why can't they afford it? Because post-national state, absolutely Justin Trudeau, Aaron O'Toole, Jagmeet Singh, and Maxime Bernier are all in bed with the Crown and absolutely want to destroy all First Peoples and any of the old stock Canadians or any Canadian more than one generation. They want that gone. Anything people have earned, they want that replaced. They want to genocide it. That's what's happening here. Colonization, colonial power, taking a foreign population to replace your domestic population. Is it appropriate to have 401,000 people a year into a country of 38 million people? What's your natural birth rate? Why is it going in the tank? Why are record housing prices skyrocketing to the point nobody of the new generation can afford to buy a house? It's called genocide. Another version. Now, we can't take to ICC over that. Is it colonization? Sure. Does it breach decolonization? Sure. Canada has the highest per person per capita immigration rate in the entire world. Is it wrong? Absolutely. Why are the natural birth rates not there? Because the government's making it so your standard of living is too low to afford children, as they borrow against you on more and more public debt, making it worse and worse as inflation now skyrockets. Your government is killing you, genociding you. They sign every breach of international law, and what they do sign in international law, they breach all of it. We're going to go through more modules, and then we're going to get into the UN resolution presented by China. And before I close this video today, everybody, for all my loyal friends, followers, and public, those accusing me of communism, in communism, there is no private property. I promise to settle all of Canada and release 79% of Canada not available to anybody, and absolute private property rights for all First Peoples and all Canadians. That is entirely the opposite of communism. Anyone trying to relate me or this party or this platform going forward, well spoken about, well published, destroying the Crown and absolutely making all of Canada available to you, the people, and absolute property rights. That's the opposite entirely of communism, and it scares all the world autocrats. It scares absolutely all the political parties of Canada, because they will lose all their power and hold over all of you. They will lose their foreign deals, their corruption, their back pocket stuffing of nothing but cash, while you all die and suffer. We can turn this pyramid around. That's what I promise. So remember, everybody, when someone says, oh, communists, say, communists don't have private property. Dave Bjorkman and the CCP promise to take all of Canada and settle all the claims. 79% of Canada made available to everybody. First Nations, first choice. Treaty Indian, absolutely. Thank you. That's my video. America, I'm sorry, but the amount of work and volume you've given me today, and Russia going off and their narrative and what I've got just in the last 2 days will take a week out of me, a week I don't have. I'm cutting it out now. This is my video to let everybody else also know, all founding members, friends, and followers, my Zoom is registered with the United States of America through the government Zoom website. Cementing my Facebook profile is on there as well too. I also have access to YouTube. It is very, very, very unlikely the government of Canada can take down my Facebook or my YouTube going forward from this day forward. Thanks. You work hard, you tell the truth, you get rewarded for it. And that's what I do, whether people like it or not. That's the truth. I don't sugarcoat nothing. Try not to attack people or other nations, but when these things are presented, I just give the truth. I gave the Russia-USA narrative. Russia did sign all that children's stuff, which is wrong when you read it. It's power of the government over your children. Absolutely. Reinforced in '89. It's sick. It's wrong. It's what Canada would ultimately love to have, which they've signed, which means residential schools, as far as Canada is concerned, are very much legal, and so is the Indian Act. It's sad. Sad. Dictators and autocrats, 70% of the UN is corrupt. USA proves it to me beyond any reasonable doubt, and I'm thankful for that. I just don't have any more time to put into this at this time. And I will go through all the laws internationally imposed in Canada that are absolutely legal worldwide. Been vetoed, shot down. Sustainable development. I can show you the entire runoff list by the United States of America and the Federation of Russia. Absolutely. That's my video. Bye, everybody. We'll see you tomorrow. Back to presentations. Finish this week strong. Good night.